Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to provide some basic tips on evaluating web pages. The web can be a little tricky since anybody can write anything, and finding information is not an exact science. However, a little bit of knowledge and some basic guidelines can help you find what you're looking for. One important skill is recognizing a site's domain. Here we are viewing a bank's homepage. Notice that the website ends with .com. This is the type of domain the site has. The domain is not always on the far right, except generally on the site's homepage. If you start clicking around, you'll see more characters appear after the domain's name. Note that the site's name and domain is generally in the same place and remains towards the left. This is the part you want to focus on when evaluating a web page. And when evaluating links shown in search results. While there are dozens of domains, here are some of the more common ones. .com generally means that the website has a commercial aspect to it. Imagine that the site is funded by or has something to do with a business. .org. This is usually used by well-known organizations such as the American Psychological Association. However, .com and .org are generic domains anyone can use. There are some domains that are more controlled. .gov websites are used by government institutes or agencies. These include state or federal websites and are generally good sources of reliable information. The assignment of these domains is regulated by the General Services Administration. Educational institutions use .edu. If you come across a school that has .com in its address, then proceed with caution. Some schools put up educational tools or tips for everyone to use, which can often be informative. The regulation of .edu is performed by EDUCAUSE. There are a dozen more domain names, including country codes. More information can be found through the Internet Corporation for assigned names and numbers. Let's review some examples. Here we are at Merriam-Webster's Dictionary website. It has a .com domain. Notice the ads on the right. Merriam-Webster and Encyclopedia Britannica are considered brand or well-known names. Brand names can help you recognize the authority of a website. This is a pop culture website, and you can see it has news about comics and movies. It also has a .com domain and ads, which you usually find at this kind of site. You'll likely find that much information about pop culture is found at .com sites. Here we have PETA's website. Notice the .org. Here's the site of the American Psychological Association. It is also known as the APA, or the organization that uses APA style, the format many of us use when writing papers. As stated before, anyone can use a .com or a .org domain. This site is dedicated to a toy cartoon franchise that began in the 80s. Notice it's a .org, but has the feel of a .com, including an ad. Search engines are great places to start looking for information. Quite often when using a search engine, you'll find the domain names in the search results, which is useful for evaluating them. Suppose you want information on drug enforcement. Let's try looking up the DEA. The DEA is a government agency, and this first result has a .gov domain, so I might start here. Some of the others also have .gov domains. I would consider these also reliable, and it becomes a matter of which result most closely fits what you're looking for. Suppose you're at a website you're not as familiar with. Here's a few things to look for. What type of domain or name does it have? This should help you understand the site's nature. Who wrote the information? Is a name provided that you recognize? If not, why do you think the information is or is not reliable? When was it written? Most pages have a copyright date or at least a date of when it was last updated. If you cannot find one, then you might be looking at information that is no longer relevant, especially in time-sensitive topics like medicine. How objective is it? Anyone can be a critic. What facts are used, and can you find these facts somewhere else? This is a good rule for blogs and reviews. Imagine you're doing your homework. You need to know how to format a graph in APA style, and you don't have an APA manual. Let's try a Google search for the term APA graph. Here in the results, we can see the domain names. The first and second ones have .edu domains, which makes me think they may be more reliable. If we scroll down a bit, we see other sites, including .com ones. Since .edu is a regulated domain, I would try one of those sites first. Instead of a graph, maybe you need to know how to do an APA bibliography. Here at the results, we see a .com, a couple of .org domains, and even a .net, which is another generic domain. In fact, .com, .org, and .nets are all generic domains anyone can use. Here we see the .edu that we saw earlier. Since this has come up twice, I am more likely to check this one out. The link brings us to this website. It looks fairly informative. I hope these tips will help you navigate websites and examine them more thoroughly. Of course, careful practice is always the best way to learn. Happy hunting!